while I was out in the glorious town of Adenau in Germany, I thought I'd do a little rundown on projects I've had for, like, I don't know, about the last 2-3 years, I think now, something like that, which has been nicknamed the Toyonda. It's basically a mashup of a Mk3 Toyota MR2 Roadster, which I bought, which had a damaged, it was bottom end bearing on the car. Bought it for next to nothing, quite readily available, certainly in the UK, really cheap. They're kind of a bit forgotten about, everyone starting to latch on to the Mark 1 MX5s but and the Mark 2s, but they seem to forget about the last generation MR2 that Toyota produced, which is mid-engined, rear-wheel drive. So what I did is I obviously took that out and put in a fairly low mileage Honda K20 engine, which came out of a EP3 Honda Civic Type R, which is what they're known as in the UK or in Europe, and it was along with the gearbox as well, so it's a 6-speed box. The standard cars in the UK don't come with LSDs, so you can't have a rear-wheel drive car without an LSD now. So I bought an aftermarket limited slip diff from a company called M Factory, who are quite well known in the Honda world for making gearboxes and differentials. Well, the axles, sorry, are custom made. The engine mounts are actually off the shelf polyurethane bushes, which makes for quite a lot of vibrations, which I'm sure you can probably tell in this video. The car's certainly not refined and quiet, that's for sure, especially when you kick into the VTEC. So that's all gone in. Otherwise, pretty much along with the ECU, so it's running the standard ECU which came with the car. Got it from a breakage yard that was breaking the whole car. It's pretty standard. You can obviously go, you can get an aftermarket or a chip, should I say, for the ECU and get it mapped, which does liberate quite a lot more power, which is something that I haven't done. But yeah, so there's always more opportunity, like all projects, there's always an opportunity to do more. So where do you stop, to be honest? But so yeah, so I've had this 2-3 years. This is its 3rd trip to the Nürburgring. The first time I bought it, I literally was finishing it 2-3 days before we came, so it's very much a shakedown. In addition to, so although the power is pretty much standard because it's just running on standard ECU, it's got obviously a custom manifold and exhaust to fit in the car. I have also put in an external 19-row oil cooler, which is tucked away nicely in one of the side vents, and this, to be honest, it just prolongs, so when I've done track days and stuff, it just means you can stay out for longer, really. It keeps the oil temperatures down nicely. But to be totally honest, I mean, it's a phrase that's used probably a little bit too much, but the thing just drives like a go-kart, being mid-engined. And with the adjustable coilovers that I've got on there, and I've got a stiffer white line anti-roll bar on the front as well, fully poly-bushed suspension components, so it makes for quite a hard ride. It's not unforgiving, but it's definitely track orientated. And believe me, the drive up here can be a little bit hard work because of it, but it's all worthwhile when you get here. That's what it's all about. The only thing I did find when I was building this, although I had the coilovers on quite early on in the car, that it did have a tendency to understeer because it's mid-engined. You obviously have to adapt your driving style for these kind of cars, and because you've got not a great deal of weight on the front, because at the front, just like an Elise and most, obviously like all the mid-engine cars, you've literally just got like the radiator, like the spare wheel lives up the front, so there's not much weight over the front tyres, so when you barrel into a corner too quickly, it will just wash, it will understeer, and so you generally have to do all your braking quite early, set yourself up in a corner and then drive it through. I have noticed since changing the geometry on the car, so I've had a bit of camber and on the front a bit of toe out, and along with the white line anti-roll bar, I have noticed certainly this year from the lap I did yesterday that it has dialed out quite a lot of the understeer, which is really good. Lovely little corners. I have to say, if you've never been up here to the Nürburgring, a lot of people say it, and it's because it's true. The roads around here are just beautiful. Just going for a nice little leisurely drive. Got lovely little switchbacks that you rarely get in the UK, and it just makes for a very more interesting drive. I don't know if you have it on, I know at the best of times. So I thought I'd just cover off the interior parts of it really. Obviously the original seats came out, like all things they weren't that great, it sat a little bit too high, so I've got a nice little fixed Cobra bucket seat in here. 3-inch harnesses, 4-point. The other Recaro seat is actually out of a like special edition Civic Type R, so you know, keep it in the Honda family and the Toyonda and everything. So no stereo, no airbags, no passenger airbag. I've kept the heaters in because I still used it quite a lot for road as well, but obviously it was a track dedicated thing, you could just rip all that out. The AC's been taken out because it's nigh impossible to get it to work with the belts and everything on the Honda engine, so the AC went as did the rad. All the pipework inside's gone as well. Because of the cage that's in the back, the soft top is just a no-go, so that goes, hence the fixed permanent hard top which comes on here, which is like a factory option. So that's bolted in with some of the racing spec mounts on the side, but I kept the catches at the front, otherwise I couldn't run the roof lining or the plastic trim on the side here. So unless you're going poverty spec and minimal weight, yeah, you know, it's the only way you can get it to run. Also, because of the kind of interchange between obviously the engines and the Toyota, the certain gauges that are on here that are standard and the cluster don't work. So for example, I had the battery warning light on all the time for some reason. The water temp gauge doesn't work. The fuel gauge still works, as does the tachometer. The revs and the miles an hour still works. It still counts the distance and everything fine. So I've got another gauge here, like a third aftermarket one, which does my oil pressure for me, which the standard car doesn't do anyway. Oil temp and water temp, and also does my volts as well. So I know if the batteries are, if the alternator packs up or whatever. So the fact that I don't have a battery warning light, I've gone one step further and actually got something that does something rather than just a warning light when it's too late. So I've got the 6-speed box out of the Civic Type R. So I've got 6 speeds up the front here, utilising the original cables, so all the shifters and everything are still the same from the Toyota. I've actually put a short shift in because the first one, the standard one, feels good, but it was just too long, and on my first kind of shakedown when we took it to the ring, I missed gears quite often, and it's just not safe, especially on a track day, to miss gears when you go into a corner if you want it to slow the car down or whatever, and you jump them, or even worse still, of course, you pick a lower ratio gear and you blow your engine up. Thoroughly recommend doing the conversion that I've done with putting the Honda K20 in it. It just goes from 140 brake horsepower car, which is fun, and the handling is great and very predictable, although a bit understeery out of the box. But the extra power just makes all the difference. I mean, you can hustle around, Porsches and stuff like that on track days, and you get quite a lot of surprise people. Certainly S2000s, which was one of the main reasons for me doing this project. It was either buy a Honda S2000 and put a cage in it and make it a bit more track focused, or build this. And to be honest, although I've done pretty much 90% of the work, all the parts that I've bought, most of them are off the shelf, very little modification required, and I did it all on my driveway, and I'm not a mechanic by any stretch of the imagination, but I thoroughly recommend it, without a doubt. The Honda K20 MR2, you can do it. I did it for less than a cheap S2000 in terms of budget. A lot of hours, I might add, a lot of hours, but you know, for me it's part of the fun doing the project. So so yeah, I definitely recommend Mk3 MR2s with a K20. Comment below if you've got anything you want to say. Thanks again for watching and persevering. I haven't put a lot of videos on, especially none to do with the Corona, but I have got stuff lined up. I am waiting on some parts, but that's not my excuse. I should be doing it. Life is getting in the way a little bit, but that's no excuse. We'll definitely crack on and I'll give you an update soon. So yeah, thanks again.